Hi there, guys. Hope there's somebody out there. This is going to be my first live ever. Live anything, really. I've never done a live before, so this is something new for me. And basically, I just wanted to come on and have a bit of a chat to everybody. I'm sitting in Sweden, so I don't get to see a lot of my subscribers, but I wanted to come on and just say hello to everybody. I also wanted to just kind of celebrate that I'm going to be putting up my 100th video. I never, ever, ever thought I'd get to 100 videos, but well, I'm there. Hopefully that'll be coming out on Sunday. It's Friday today. So yeah, I'm just hoping that everybody's happy with what I've been doing. And yeah, I was just kind of hoping to just... yeah, it's a bit new for me. This is a bit nervous about it all. Don't really know exactly how this works. It's my first live on YouTube. I've done videos on what's it called? Snapchat and Teams was what I was thinking of with work every day, but never done it really on YouTube. So I thought I'd just come on and do a live and basically celebrate the fact that I've got a 100th video out. I never thought I'd get to 100 videos, but I'm there. So yeah, I thought I'd come on. We could have a bit of a chat. If there's any questions you want to ask, then I'm quite happy to answer any questions. If not, I'll just chat for a bit. Let you know what's going on with Alice. As you can see, she's in the background. We're in the workshop with her. At the moment, I've got a video coming out on Sunday. It's Friday today. So Sunday, there's a video going out, and it's been a long week. Well, this week I've been off at work, but last week it was a long week. Lots of problems that came up that I solved. Slowly but surely, got all the problems solved. And that's going to come out in the video. Hi, Ben. So I've got a lot of problems solved with it, stuff that I had no idea that needed to be even sorted out. So yeah, she's running relatively well. Good enough that I can actually go for a drive in her. So I've been for 3 or 4 drives actually last week with her up and down the road. I think she's going to get better over time. The ECU needs to kind of learn all its parameters and stuff like that, but it took a long time, a lot of time last week to get it sorted. Yeah, she runs. I've just driven her up onto the lift here to have her in the background. And yeah, she runs. When she gets when I start her up cold, she'll have a little bit of a flat spot as you try to accelerate. Once you get past that initial flat spot, she's all right. It works after that. So yeah, I don't really know what that flat spot is at the moment. I'm hoping it's just the sensors kind of working themselves out, but she runs a lot better than what she's ever run before. I have to say a massive thank you to Shane. He's the god in this sort of thing. I would have never worked out what the problem was without him. Would have never even thought about it. I thought I'd got all the parts that I needed, but apparently these computers are a bit fussy. And that's one of the problems I had with it. I've also had problems with, I think it's all linked, but problems with spark plugs. I bought 12 spark plugs last week, and 8 of them are destroyed. They just don't work anymore. They're dead. So I think the problem was, well, the problem is one of the sensors that wasn't right. So that's all been solved. I've gone through it all in the video, but yeah, I've got 12 plugs that are pretty much knackered, to be honest. I might have one there. But yeah, basically what's happened is they've cracked right down the porcelain here, and they just died, just stopped working. So yeah, 12 spark plugs I bought in a week. That is probably the most spark plugs I've ever bought in my entire life. But yeah, there you go. But yeah, seems to be running. I'm so glad I've got a scrapyard near me, and I've had a bit of luck with it, to be honest, that they've had the parts I've needed in stock. So I've been able to go there and get the parts I need to test things, and it's been good. it's a lot more work than what I planned on. When I started doing this project, I did like a lot of people did. I went on YouTube. I looked at what do I need to do this job, and I was kind of looking at, you need to get a gearbox, get an engine, you need an engine mount, and you need the gearbox mount as well. So, well, that's not a hard thing. I can get hold of all of that lot, and then it's kind of snowballed from there. So I'm learning all the time, and that is kind of why I wanted to put this on YouTube, is to give back to the people that are also doing this job. Learn by my mistakes. That's kind of what I'm after. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm after. It's snowballed from there. Some things with this car are very specific to Sweden. Obviously, I'm up in the north of Sweden, and there's different rules up here than what there are in England, unfortunately. Like the carbs, for example, got all the way. I learned to TIG weld to make the manifold. I could have bought one, obviously, but I wanted to learn to TIG weld as well. So I did learn to TIG weld, and made the inlet manifold, fitted everything, got the engine to almost run, and then found out that can't use the carbs. I tried to explain it in one of the videos. I hope it came across. I'm not really sure if it did, but the main thing is that the Swedish laws say that if you put an engine in a car that has a catalytic converter from the beginning, then it has to have a catalytic converter from that car when you put it in. So it has to have the injection system. You can't use an aftermarket injection system. You can't use an aftermarket ECU. It has to have a catalytic converter. It has to have lambda sensors. There's all that thing that they just say it has to have. And basically what they want is you to take a package. So you take the engine, gearbox, ECU, all the wiring, everything out of that car, put it into this car, and then turn the key, which is kind of what I was planning to do, but it turned out, I had to rebuild everything. So yeah, it's basically the Swedish laws that said you have to do it. I've also found out afterwards that I may have to upgrade the rear brakes as well, which is something new to me. Didn't know I had to. It seems to be news to people in England as well. People in England don't seem to upgrade the rear brakes on them. Some people do put disc brakes on the rears, but most people say it's not needed. They've got such good brakes on the front of this that it's not really needed. And to be quite honest, the little bit of driving I've done, I've not really felt I needed to upgrade the rear brakes. This thing stops on a penny. It's got massive front brakes on it, so it really does stop well. So I'm not really sure that I need to upgrade the rear brakes, but I think I'm going to end up doing it anyway, just because the Swedish laws say you have to have it. So I might end up with that. I might not. I don't know. I'm going to try if I can and get around it, that I don't have to upgrade the brakes. So I've done that. I've got that to do. I've actually bought a while ago. I bought a job lot of Fiesta parts, Mark III, Mark IV, Mark IIs, some Mark I, all sorts of different parts in some boxes. And in one of the boxes was actually a set of complete rear drums for a Mark III, I think it is. So I'm hoping that it looks familiar. I went and got them at the weekend. I'm hoping that those back plates bolt straight onto the back plates of this Fiesta. I've got them in the back of my daily driver. So I'm going to be testing that next week. And I hope it's just a bolt-on kit. I'm probably have to redo the handbrake and things like that. But getting a couple of new handbrake cables isn't a huge problem. Yeah, I've got a question there from the Dizzy Cap Car Show. Do I know what the regulations say about what the rear brakes have to be? What I can gather, they don't have to be discs. Nope, that was one of the questions as well. It doesn't have to be discs. It just have to be bigger, is what they've said. Now, what the guy has said is because I've put the KA brakes on the front, then I should put KA brakes on the back, or at least the same size as the back, so that it keeps it, so that I've not got a massive amount of brakes on the front and nothing on the rear, or just lock up the front brakes and the rear brakes do nothing. I can kind of see their point, but I mean, this car weighs like 800 kilos. Yeah, the rear brakes, I don't think they ever did a lot to start with. Putting this massive engine in it and upgrading the front brakes, I think that's going to be enough, to be honest. what they're worried about, I think, is me locking up the rears before I lock up the fronts, and that's never going to happen in this car. So I don't think it's that, but what they are saying is they have to be bigger, and I should follow the KA. So with me putting KA brakes on the front, I should put KA brakes on the rear, which means that they are saying that they should be 204 millimeters, I think it is, on the rears. At the moment, they're like, God knows, about 150. I don't know really what they are. So that's kind of why I have to, or I'm hoping I don't have to, but that's what they're saying about it, that I have to follow the brakes. He has told me I need bigger, so I could go up to 178, which I think is the Mark III. But I don't know, really. He has told me to test it. And basically, the test, which is really the thing that I found quite interesting, was there's all these regulations and rules and stuff like that. And what they're saying is basically drive it to 100 kilometers an hour and then whack on the front. Brake the car and make sure it doesn't lock up on the rear brakes first, which this is never going to lock the rear brakes before the front brakes. So in my opinion, I don't really need to do it. I don't think. But it might just be the rules and regulations in Sweden that say you have to upgrade the rear brakes if you upgrade the front brakes. I don't know. I have tested it, and I don't lock up the rear brakes. So I don't think I'm going to have to, but I'm prepared that if I do, then hopefully the Mark III drums that I've got will bolt straight onto these axles, and I'll just have to redo the handbrake, which isn't a huge problem. Yeah, just reading. Well, I see, that's interesting. So it's like the engine needing the ECU, etc. Yeah, basically, they just want to put whatever parts you take off a car, put them onto this car, and you take all of it as much as possible from the donor car to this car. They were talking about the fact that because I've had to move the brake pedal down slightly on the brake pedal, I've only moved it about that far further down the brake pedal, but just to get it in line. With mine being a left-hand drive, I think I showed it in the video that with it being a left-hand drive, I don't have the pedal. The bar going across the bulkhead. Don't have that. Don't need it. So normally in England, you would just adjust the angle slightly of the bracket, and then it just fits to the bar. But I don't have that here because I don't have that bar. So I've got different brackets to it that bolted to the frame, but it meant that the servo was like that, dead straight, and it meant that the holder was kind of falling like that forward. So I've redone everything and made it so that the servo leans backwards and then the reservoir is straight now. But it meant I had to change the pedal angle and move it down the pedal and things like that. So I've done that, and he was a bit worried about that if you've moved the arm further down the pedal, will that affect the braking? It doesn't look like it. There is some kind of I think he goes out for a drive in the car and he puts on some sort of a G-force gauge on the car, and he measures the G-force under braking, and it has to be a certain amount of G-force to be approved. I'm fairly sure that this is going to manage that G-force test anyway. I've tried locking it up on the rears, but it just locks the front up all the time. So I don't think I'm going to need to be a problem, but you never know. I might end up doing it. It'll be interesting if I have to change to something, and hopefully the Mark IIIs will fit. Then if I do have to change something, it'll be interesting to do it, and it'll make a good content, but it's not really what I want to do. I want to get this car, I want to get it on the road, I want to drive it. You'll see it in the video on Sunday. I've been up and down the road in it, and these are quick little cars. Yeah, it puts a smile on your face. I'm proper happy with it. It doesn't take a lot to lose grip on the front tires. So yeah, it's good fun. Really, really good fun. Again, in the video, you'll see I've had a couple of problems. One of them with the fuel tank. I didn't think I was going to get any problems with the fuel tank, but I did. Which meant that I nearly crashed the car. That was fantastic. Nearly crashed it on the first trip out. Yeah, I lost the back end. But yeah, you'll see that in the video. Not the crash or the near crash, but you'll see why anyway. Yeah, it's good fun to drive. I took the missus out. She wasn't all that happy about it. Yeah, it goes. So I'm enjoying this car. It's gonna be good fun. So my plan is I've had all the interior apart to put it to paint and stuff like that. So I've got to get the seatbelts back together again. I've got to get the indicators working. For some reason, the indicators have stopped working. The hazards work, but not the indicators. I don't know why. I don't know. I've got to do some more fault finding next week to find out why the indicators aren't working. If anybody's got any good ideas, I'd love to hear about that. But yeah, for some reason, I've got 3 separate sets of indicator stalks now. I've just tested them and none of them work. I still can't get the indicators to work. Don't know why. So I don't know. I guess there's a wire broken somewhere, missing, fell off. I don't know. Somewhere there's a wire missing somewhere. I'm not getting connection, but the hazards do work, but the indicators don't for some reason. God knows why. But there you go. So I need to get seatbelts. I need to get the indicators working. Yeah, it is probably an earth fault somewhere. I just don't know where. I'm going to find it. But like I said, the hazards work, which is really strange, but not the indicators. So I don't know. I don't know quite why that is. I don't quite get the link with that one. If the hazards work, then why don't the indicators? I was hoping just changing the stalks would work, but I've just changed it twice now and it still doesn't work. So don't know. I don't know really. We've got a test probe, so I'm going to have to go around and test putting power to things and test earths and things like that to make sure I've got stuff. Hopefully I do. Hopefully I don't. I don't know. But we'll see. Next week, one of the things I want to get done is sort the fuel pumps out. They're fitted to the car, but make a right racket. Yeah, electrics is a wizard. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what I teach my students, that if you're good at electrics, you've got a job the rest of your lifetime. So, yeah. But yeah, the fuel pumps, they make a right racket. I was kind of worried that they were going all the time and that might be a problem, but I don't think it is. I think that it's supposed to be that. It's got a fair bit of pressure coming through that system, and it's got a return on it. So I think the pressure's supposed to be there, but they're just making a right racket. So I'm going to put them on some rubber mountings. I bought them the other day. I think I've got them with me somewhere. Don't know where. Oh, I bought some rubber mountings anyway, so I can bring them, because at the moment they're bolted straight to the chassis, and it kind of vibrates. As soon as you turn the ignition on, you can hear the whole kind of car vibrate. So I want to get the some rubbers on them and bring them down a bit, and hopefully that'll quieten them down a lot. It's not too. I mean, inside the car, once you get it driving, it's not too bad. You can't really hear it as such, but outside the car, you can definitely hear it, and it's kind of annoying. So I want to get some rubbers on that, and hopefully that'll solve the problem. I did put a bit of rubber between the chassis and the pumps, but it doesn't seem to make any difference. And I think it's probably because it's bolted into the chassis that it's still making a vibrating noise. But hopefully that'll be getting going. But I've only got next week, really, because the week after that, we are going on holiday and we are coming to England. So unfortunately, I'm going to miss Santa Pod. We were there last year. But this year, I will make it down to Silverstone. That's going to be my first time in Silverstone. I've never been there before. The family's obviously never been there, but I've never been. Santa Pod, actually, last year was the first time I've been to Santa Pod. I see that Ben says this is noisy as well, but I just think they're a bit too noisy. I do want to just calm them down a bit. So last year was the first time I was at Silverstone. Really enjoyed that show. It was fantastic. It's something definitely different. Car shows in England compared to car shows in Sweden is definitely something different. Over here, there's a lot more American cars. Loads of them, loads and loads of American cars. Whereas in England, I did show a photo to my girlfriend not long ago of a big row of orange Focus STs, and there was like 30 of them in a row. You don't see that sort of thing over here, or a long model like that, a long row of the same model of cars. Over here, you'll probably get a few Buicks or a few Cadillacs or a few Mustangs and stuff like that, but not all the same color, the same model, the same make. You just don't get that over here. So to show her that was quite interesting, and to go and see that there was an orange Ford Focus club in England. I thought that was really, really amusing. It was quite cool to see, because you don't get it over here. So Santapod, I really enjoyed that last year. I won't be making it this year because I know it's this weekend, isn't it? It's this Sunday, I believe. So I won't make it this year, but we will make it down to Silverstone. So hopefully I'll see some of you guys there. If anybody is there, then give me a shout. Come up and say hello. That would be great to see some people out there. I normally see names and faces, and names at least, and comments on the YouTube channel. But it's nice to put names to people, and faces to people. So if you're at the show and you see me walking around, I'm going to try and put like a Mike the Mechanic t-shirt on so you can see me. Come up and say hello. I'd love to meet everybody. So yeah, and if anybody's got any, I'm going to take some stickers with me. If everybody's got any stickers, I'll do a bit of a swap if you want. I want to get some stickers put together as well. So yeah, I'll bring some stickers with me and stuff like that. So if you see me at the show, come over and say hello. I'd love to say it, but do let me know who you are, and don't be worried if I don't know who you are. Let me know who you are, because it's nice to put names to faces. So yeah, I'd like to see that. I'm looking forward to seeing the cars, especially now I've started to follow a lot of the cars on Instagram and on YouTube and Facebook and things like that. It's nice to see these cars in person. Oh, great. Ben will be there. Great. Well, come up to me and say hello then, Ben, so I know who you are. So yeah, it's nice to see these cars in person. It would be nice to bring Alice with me, and one day, if I can get some earplugs, I'll come over in the car. But it's a long drive. I think down just from where I am. I mean, we're right at the top of Sweden. We're near this polar circle. It's only about another hour's drive or something like that. We're at the polar circle. So to drive down to England, it's about 15 hours to Stockholm, and then you've got another, I don't know, 10 hours or something like that to England. So you're looking at probably a whole day of driving. So it's never really appealed to me to do 24 hours worth of driving, even if I can do it in stops and things like that. It's never really appealed. One day, maybe. So it would be nice. It really would be nice to get Alice to a show and show her off, but I don't know whether I'll do it or not. It's a long way to drive on an old Fiesta, even if it's got a better engine in it. But we'll see. I won't get the family in it either. Not all that distance. So yeah, Silverstone is going to be good. I've had a look at pictures and previous years to see what happens there. So it's going to be interesting to see what goes on at Silverstone. I've never been there. I've never actually been to Silverstone. Nearest me when I lived in England was Donington Park. So I've been there several times, but I've never actually been to any other circuits. So Silverstone's going to be good. I'm quite looking forward to that, actually. So yeah, I'll be driving around England. We're going up to Edinburgh for a few days, and then most of the rest of the time we're going to be around the Nottingham area. So if anybody is around, give us a shout, and I'll see what we can do. But yeah, that's going to be good. That's going to be 3 weeks of holiday. So I've got a couple of videos ready. If not, I'll try and do something while I'm in England and get it up on YouTube. But there might be a 3-week break, so I'll let you all know about that. But at least I'll be in England at least. So that's good fun. Yeah, today I plan to come here. One of the things I want to do is sort the back seat out. I did get, I think if you've seen the video, we've got a question there. How big is the car modification scene in Sweden? Do you see many engine swaps and stuff that shows there, or do the regulations mean most people keep things standard? You do get a lot of modifications over here. I went to a show the other day that's coming out on Monday. That shows there was a Mark 1 Golf, I think it was, with a, God knows, I'm not good on Golfs and things like that, but it had a 20-valve Volkswagen engine put in it. So you do it. It's so, like I say, if you put an engine in, then you need to just follow the ECU and the wiring and all that sort of stuff in it. Basically, it's to get it through the MOT. Once it's through the MOT, I think you can change things, but we'll keep that a bit quiet. like putting a turbo and things like that. Not for the MOT, but afterwards, be all right. So yeah, do get a lot of cars modified over here. I saw, I saw a, what was that the other day? I think it was a Volvo, an old Volvo Amazon, something like that. I mean, one of the old ones with, I think it was a 5-cylinder Volvo engine in it. So yeah, you can put them in. It's just the rules are fairly strict to do it. But the thing that I like about it all, especially with this, is that I think I've seen 2, 3 Fiestas since I've lived in Sweden. I've been here 23 years or something like that. So you don't see many of them up here. So when I go to a car show, and this is what I like about it, when I go to a car show, there's going to be one Mark 1 Fiesta there, and there's going to be one Mark 1 Fiesta with a Zetec engine in it. That is what I like. It's the same when I go with my Mini and put that there. There's only one Mini. I'm not stood in a row with Mustangs or with Buicks or Cadillacs or things like that. There's one of me there. And that's the sort of thing I do like with the car scene over here. And that's what I like with these small cars. So that's one of the things about it. But yeah, you do get lots and lots of modified cars. It's ridiculous the amount of cars there are here. Some of the big shows have got some big engines. If you look at one of the previous videos when I was in Luleå, there was it was a Volvo, if I remember right, like a 240, something like that, and it had a straight 6 BMW engine in it. That thing moves, it shifts, something ridiculous. No worries, Ben. So yeah, you get loads of cars. A lot of time they put, Volvo, Saab, BMW engines. You get a lot of that sort of thing put in cars. Ford, and especially these little Fords, don't get many of them up here. Although they do really well. They don't. We don't use a lot of salt up here on the roads in winter, so they don't rust away as much. They definitely don't rust away as much as they do in England. Body-wise on this car, I only did the rear arches on it and a little tiny bits in the boot floor. That's it. She is pretty clean underneath. So they don't tend to rust as much as you get in England. So in that respect, the little Fords should survive. But, they were never a big seller. And little Fords don't tend to sell very well, especially up here in the north. We are, like I say, right up in the north. We get winter, and we get proper winter. Minus 30 degrees, half meters of snow. We can get half a meter of snow overnight, so we get a lot of snow, and we can get up to, I've seen like a meter and a half of snow over a course of 6 months. And it's just left there. It doesn't kind of go anywhere. They scrape the roads off and that's it. So the little cars, they don't tend to be sold up here as much. I think it's getting better now. They are tending to sell smaller cars. With more families having second cars, you tend to get more people with one big car, one small car, things like that. So you do tend to get them up here nowadays. But things like ST170s, ST150s, XR2s, XR3s, RS Turbos, don't see them up here. I've never seen an XR2 since I moved here. The only XR2s I've ever seen have been in England now. Just don't see them up here. There is one RS Turbo that I filmed the other day, and that'll be coming out on Monday as well, with an RS Turbo, and it's absolutely beautiful. Of course, it's an English guy that owns it, but yeah, it's an absolutely beautiful RS Turbo. So yeah, you don't get them much up here. The amount of Escorts I've probably seen 5, 10, something like that in the last 20 years. RS Turbos, I've seen one. At a car show I was at a few weeks ago, I did see a Mark 6, Mark 7, something like that, Escort RS 2000. That's the only one I've seen, and it's the only one I've seen in like 20 years. So you don't get them up here. But yeah, they come in. So yeah, back to the question, we do get lots of engine stuff, engine swaps and things like that. But yeah, it is a bit bonkers coming back to the UK and being surrounded by the old school Fords. Although it does mean when I'm out on the road and I do see a Mark III or Mark IV Escort, it's like, wow, that's a proper old car. And it's really cool to see it because I don't see it very often. I went right up to the north a few months ago, filming right on the border of Sweden and Finland. And surrounded by cars, there's all these Buicks and huge American cars and limousines and God knows what else. And I got most excited when a Mark IV Escort passed. That was brilliant. I was just like, wow, it's a Mark IV Escort. You don't see them. So yeah, I get a bit nerdy in that way, but it was good fun to see it. I mean, you just don't see it. So yeah, I'd love coming back to the UK to see minis driving around and seeing the Mark II Fiestas and Mark I Fiestas. And even though I don't like them, you get Metros driving around and stuff like that. I do like to see that. It's nostalgic for me that, I mean, I've driven, my first car was a Mark I Fiesta. That's why I've got this one. I wanted to go back to my roots, basically. And that's what made me buy this Fiesta, because I had one. It was my first car. 17 years old, passed my driving test, and bought a Fiesta for 200 quid. Paid like £1,000 for the insurance, and it got written off after 26 days. But there you go. That was my first Fiesta, and since then I probably had about 4 or 5 Fiestas when I lived in England, and then I've had a couple of Volvos. I've had a Chrysler. But then I've gone over to Fords after that. So I've had a few Mondeos. I've had about 4 or 5 Mondeos, and I've got a Focus. And now I've got 2 Fiestas. So Fords aren't very popular over here as such, especially the old ones. The new ones are getting more and more popular. You do see more and more Focuses, Mondeos, and Cougars, and things like that. So they're getting more popular over here, but most people are looking at Volvos. There's a lot of Mercedes get sold up here, rear-wheel drives. Yeah, it's fun to drive a rear-wheel drive, isn't it? You can always slide them around. So yeah, you get a lot of that sort of stuff over here, basically to cope with the weather. But yeah, Volvo obviously is a big brand, and it does get sold a lot. The same as Ford gets sold a lot in England. But yeah, it's good fun. So yeah, quite looking forward to coming over to England again. We were there last summer and over Christmas with the kids. So yeah, it's good fun to come over. I've got my family still living there, so I like to come over every so often and see them and try and get to some Ford shows and look at some cars over in England while I'm there. Usually I end up going back with parts. We'll see this time. Last time I came over, my suitcase had like my clothes and stuff like that, and it had my radiator in it from Colin. So I put things like that in my suitcase. My wife buys extra clothes and jewelry and things like that you can't buy in Sweden, but I go back with the aluminium radiator, and that's brilliant. That's what I like. I'd love to be able to get a set of Fiesta seats in a suitcase, but I don't think I will. It would be nice. So if anybody's got a set of Fiesta seats that they know will fit in a suitcase, give us a shout. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a good few weeks over in England. It's going to be a nice break, and I'm really looking forward to Silverstone. So next week, like I say, I've only got next week left, and then I'm off on holiday. So next week is getting the indicators sorted out, getting the seatbelts put back in again, and I want to sort out the rear seat. You probably saw in one of the videos, I bought a job lot of parts from somebody who was selling their car. It's a nice silver Mark I Fiesta. She sold the car separately, but she had a load of parts from another car that she kept all the parts from it. And I bought all the parts off of her. And one of the parts was the seats. So there was the 2 front seats and then the rear seat. I've put the front seats in the car that were a little bit better than mine. And I put the rear seat bench in the other day. And I don't know whether it's a Mark or a later Mark I. I don't know really, but the locking doesn't work. It doesn't fit the same. So the plan is to swap the metal piece over from the cloth. So that I keep the cloth, but just change the back section over so I can lock it in place, because at the moment it doesn't lock in place. While I've got it apart, I would like to try and put some form of like headrest for in the back seats. That would be nice to see how I can possibly manage to get something in there. I'm not really sure how I'm going to do it yet, but it doesn't look too difficult to pull the seats apart. So I'm hoping that that's not going to be too much of a job, and I'll just be able to swap the cloth over onto the proper backs and then put the seat back in again, because at the moment it doesn't lock. If you brake too hard, the back seat kind of falls flat. So I need to sort that out, obviously, because that's going to be an MOT failure. So I need to get that sorted out. And that's basically this week's job. I'd love to get the flat spot sorted out. I'm hoping that just needs a bit of a run, and it'll be all right. I'm planning on probably Wednesday to go out for a drive in it. It would be nice if I could get to a car show with it on Wednesday, because when I get back the middle towards the end of August, there's not going to be many car shows around. So I do want to try and get to a car show before the season ends. It's not a hugely long season over here. It'll start getting cold at the end of September. So there's not many car shows at like the end of September. So I think the last one I filmed last year, that was the last car show, and it was in September. It was a beautiful day. It was nice and sunny, not fantastically warm. And there was over 500 cars turn up to that show. So it was massive. And I know that they are planning to make it bigger this year. So that would be really cool if there was even more than 500 cars there. So about September is where the shows kind of start to run off. So I'd like to try and get to a car show this week, but obviously I need to get seatbelts and indicators in before I can drive out anywhere on any kind of public road. So indicators probably the most important thing next week to sort out. And as we've already talked about, it's electrics. I didn't think electrics were my thing, and after doing this car, I'm convinced they're not my thing. I don't mind doing it. I can follow a wiring diagram and things like that, but I do like changing parts. The mechanical side of it I prefer more than the electrical side of it, but I'm learning and I'm kind of getting used to appreciating it. But if I could skip the electrical side of it, I would do. And that was why I went for the carbs to start with. But you know, I'm stuck with the ECU now, so I have to use the ECU. But there you go. So I've got to sort that out. Don't really know what it is. If anybody's got any tips, like I say, write me a comment, send me a message, and I'll try and solve it that way. But I'm going to get a test probe on it and see what that is. So back seats, indicators, and seatbelts, and that should be able to run the car. I've only been, there's like a private little road at the side here. I can drive up and down in there. I mean, it's all right to do it, but like I say, I've got no indicators. So at the moment, it's hand signals, old hand signals to get me out on the road. And once I'm on the road, it's just up and down the road. I can do that, but I can't get very far. The engine gets nice and warm and it starts to run, but I want to go out for a bit further on it. I want to be able to go out a bit further and test it. See if anything falls off, which it actually did the first time I went out in this car on a proper drive. On the way back, I heard a noise. Something was it made like a banging noise underneath the car. I got a bit of a panic. I came back. We looked underneath the car. Couldn't find anything wrong with the car. Didn't know what it was. I went out for another drive in the car, kind of slowly, just to make sure was there anything that I could see that was kind of loose. I couldn't feel anything. On the way back, I saw like a bolt on the road, and I thought, that's what the noise was. So yeah, I need to test it. I need to make sure if any other bolts fall out anywhere. It didn't look like it was a bolt that was attached to the engine, so I don't have to worry about that. I think it's probably one that was just like lying in the wings, or fell onto something that jumped out while I was driving down the road. So, and that was what I heard bouncing underneath the car. But yeah, it scared me a little bit. That did. I wasn't really sure what that was, and I was kind of hoping that the front suspension is going to hold until I get back and things like that. So yeah, that was a bit exciting. I've had most of I've had all of it apart. So all the bolts have had apart. I And I'm hoping I've put most of them back together again. You never know. I kind of hope I have, but that's why I want to go for a slightly longer drive. And I've kind of been building up to it. I've been up and down the car park a few times, and then I've been out on the road a little bit, and I've, kind of slow speeds, higher speeds, higher speeds, testing it. Only to test the brakes, obviously. But I've gone up to slightly higher speeds and tested it. So, yeah, that works fine so far. But I want to get it sorted out. I don't have things like the temperature gauge isn't working and the fuel gauge isn't working. So that's also a couple of things I'd like to get sorted out. The temperature gauge, I think, is just an earth, but I'm not really sure why the fuel gauge isn't showing me anything. It's empty. So, yeah, that needs to be sorted out. As we said earlier, probably an earth problem somewhere. Don't know where. Going to be a few more hours looking over wiring diagrams to find out where all the earths are and trying to work out which one's missing and going over them to find out what it is. But I'll get it sorted eventually, I suppose. That's all. It's all the fun of the job, isn't it? Pulling it apart and putting it back together again. That's what makes us do this sort of thing. That's what made me become a mechanic to start with. Was the joy of pulling things apart, fixing it, putting it back together again, and seeing it work. One of the things I always used to love doing was changing clutches and things like that, changing brakes and things like that, because you can see the car comes in, it's knackered, you change it, and you go out again, and it works. That's the thing that I've always liked. It's one of the things I'm starting to appreciate more with the electrics, that something's not working, I can go in, find out what's wrong with it, fix whatever's wrong with it, and put it back together again, and then see the indicators working, for example. So I'm learning to appreciate the electrics in the same way the mechanical side of it. So I'm hoping that I'll get that sorted. But it's a process. It's always a process with this sort of thing. Yeah. Has anybody got any questions? I'd love to ask any questions. I can see that we've got 4 people at the moment. There's been up to 8 people. I didn't think I was going to get 8 people. I'm quite surprised at that. So a massive, massive thank you to anybody that's actually sat there at home now listening to me. I never thought I would. This is one of the joys of YouTube. So never thought I'd be sat here holding my own live to people, I don't know, around the world. I don't know where you are. Most of you, I imagine, are in England. But, I don't know. It's good fun. I'd love to know where you're all from. If you send me a message and let me know where you're all from. It's always nice to know whereabouts you're all from. So, yeah, that's a good thing. And, yeah, I thought I'd do this live. It's my first live ever. I did say that at the beginning, that I've never done a live before. I've never done it on Instagram. I've never done it on YouTube. I've done it on Teams and things like that. Somebody from England there, thanks a lot. So yeah, I've done that, but never done a proper live. Somebody from Luleå, oh, brilliant, in the same town where I am, great. Yeah, I never thought I'd be doing a live. I never thought I'd get to where I am today, 100 videos. When you start out with this sort of thing, I thought I'd be putting a video every so often and things like that. But I never thought I'd get to 100 videos. And now I'm there. I don't know whether this is going to count as the 100th video or the one that comes out on Sunday will count as the 100th video. But we'll see. It's either this one or the one on Sunday. But never really thought I'd get from, Narvik in Norway. Brilliant. Right up in the north of Norway. Hi. So yeah, I never thought I'd get to 100 videos. I also never thought I'd get to, I'm at 932 subscribers. I never thought I'd get to that either. That's a massive amount of people. I did do a bit of research on how to do lives and things like that. And I was watching a video. Somebody had put that, if you get 5 people watching a video, it's a lot of people. And he said, if you've got 5 people get together in your living room, that's a lot of people. And he also said, if 5 people smack you in the face, you're going to feel it. So 5 people watching my videos is amazing. And 932 people all subscribing to my channel is amazing. I think that's fantastic. I still have problems with it. Well, not problems. It kind of surprises me when people recognize me and, oh, you're that guy off YouTube and things like that. That kind of it surprises me, but it's good fun at the same time. I'm glad to see that somebody's learning from my channel. That's one of the things I was hoping with this channel was to kind of pass on my knowledge and pass on the things that I'm learning. So that's good to see. Thank you. But yeah, I never thought I'd get this far with YouTube. It wasn't kind of the plan to start with. It was just kind of, I'll get a couple of videos out and it'll be good fun. I never thought I'd get 100 videos. I never thought I'd have to make this amount of videos on this car, but it's all been good fun. It's been a learning process and it's been good fun. So yeah, I've quite enjoyed it. And I'm not planning on stopping yet. I want to get this car done, get her on the road, get some videos of that, and then I'll start to introduce Millie. That's my other Fiesta. Now, Millie is... well, when I bought this car, I started off buying this one, and it needed... This driver's door was knackered and it needed replacing. So I started looking around for like replacement doors and things like that. And somebody said, "Oh, I've got a whole car." And I was like, "Brilliant, I'll go and buy the car then." And I went and got it. And the guy said to me something about it being an unusual car and things like that. And I thought, yeah, well, they are unusual up here in Sweden. So yeah, fair enough. And then I got the car home and I thought, I wonder what he meant by that. And I started looking up what he meant by it. And that's when I found out that Millie is actually a million Fiesta. For those of you that don't know, when Ford had made a million Fiestas, which is 1979, they brought out a range or a celebratory model of Fiesta Millions, and they made 3,100 of them. And that was all they made. And it's got things like a sunroof and it's got a red stripe down here, and it's got all the mod cons, 12-inch alloy wheels on it, things like that. Back in 1979 was pretty major stuff for a celebratory model, but they only made 3,100 of them anyway. If you go to the website that is Project Bobcat, you will see that there is actually a whole page about Fiesta Millions telling you this, and there is a register of the Fiesta Millions that are still around, and that's one of them. And it turns out that there are 11 left in the world. They were only available in black and they were only available in silver. There were only two colors. Mine is a silver one. In that list of cars, there are 3 silver ones left, and I've got one of them. And I also have the only one in that list that is left-hand drive. So of the 11 that are left, I've got the only one that is silver and left-hand drive. So obviously I couldn't take the doors off of that one and use it for parts. So that is Millie the Million Fiesta. And I'll do a more in-depth video of her, but obviously she needs to be restored back to original condition. I can't go putting a Zetec in her, unfortunately, because that would probably destroy the value of the car. So yeah, that is Millie, and she's a bit of a special car. It meant that I had to go looking for another car then for more parts, but there you go. It also meant that I now own 2 Fiestas, where I was only planning to buy one, but now I've got 2 to restore. And I've also got my Mini, and the plan with that one was to never buy another project car until I was done with the Mini. Still not done with the Mini, and I've now got 3 project cars, but there you go. Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing more about Millie. She's an interesting car. Yeah, like I say, that's got to be pristine condition. It's got to be nuts and bolts. That one, I say, I can't go doing anything weird with that one, like I have with her. But that's why I want to do it with her, basically. So that one, and I've also got, like I say, my Mini. She's a classic Mini. Doesn't have a name yet because she doesn't have a registration number, and there's nothing really that special about her apart from having a flip front. But I don't know. Don't really know what to call her, to be honest. I bought her about 15 years ago, something like that. Don't really know. Probably about 15 years ago. And that Mini has undergone a complete nuts and bolt restoration. The bodywork has been down to bare metal. every bolt, every screw, every nut, every washer, everything has been replaced on that car. And I put the flip front on it. Yeah, that's it. That's right. So I've upgraded to disc brakes on the front. I've put a flip front on it. It did come with the flip front on it, but it was a fiberglass one. I've spent most of my working life over here as a welder and a car mechanic and HGV mechanic. So fiberglass isn't really my thing. So I got rid of that. I bought front panel, pair of wings, and a bonnet, and I welded it all together and made the flip front. So it's a flip up front rather than a flip forward front. There is a video on my YouTube of me going around that Mini. She's from 1976. Now, I've owned her, like I said, about 15 years. So she is the car that I've owned the longest in my entire life and the car that I've driven the absolute least in my entire life. Basically, she hasn't been MOT'd for many, many years. And it means that if they don't get MOT'd over here, yeah, see you soon. So I've had to, because she's not been MOT'd for a long, long time, they kind of fall out of the registry system and they lose the number plate. And that's what's happened with her. So I have to do all the MOT for her with the flip front and the brakes and stuff like that on it. But then I have to get it MOT and I have to get it re-registered. And it'll be registered as an amateur built car, the same as Alice will be when it's done. But it's a process, and it's a process that I've been doing her on and off for, like I say, 15 years or so. And I've always said, I'm going to finish it. I will finish it. But I think after that many years, you kind of get, not, I'm not going to say bored of it, but it goes in waves. Sometimes I'll do a bit, sometimes I won't, things like that. But yeah, one day I will get her finished. Like I say, Alice was just going to be a quick change the engine, paint her at some point was the other thing. I was just going to paint her, and that turned out to be a full body respray, and it turned out to be really quick. Wasn't planning on it, but it turned out that way. The Mini, like I say, has been completely rubbed down to absolutely nothing, and then rebuilt from there. So I've done all the bodywork on it, all the filler and guide coats and primer and stuff like that. And then it went off. I actually painted it at one point myself, but some bad reaction somewhere, and the paint underneath the clear coat cracked the entire car. So I ended up rubbing the entire car back down to the primer, re-primering the entire car, and then I let somebody else paint it. So it's been painted twice, that car, since I've owned it, and I've not really driven it. But yeah, one day I'll get that on the road as well. Again, that probably needs the first MOT like she's going to get, and then the proper MOT where it gets a registration number. But yeah, that's the car that I've owned the longest and driven the absolute least in my entire life. But there you go. So yeah, one project car turned into three, even though I wasn't planning on having three cars. But there you go. So that's the plan for the Mini. I've upgraded her every so often. I've put disc brakes on it. I have put, there's a new rear subframe on it. There's a completely new interior in it. The dashboard is, I think it's an Autoplast, it's called, something like that. It's a 60s inspired dashboard that's put in there in fiberglass that's been sprayed white. Really nice. I really like that car. So one day I'll get around to putting that on the road again. And that's also a car that when you go to a car show, normally I'm the only person at a car show with a Mini. The last time I was at a car show with her, there was two others turn up. So all of a sudden there was me and two other Minis at a car show, and that's never happened before. But yeah, that's good fun. It's nice to see that the Minis are still around. I always get the people. I don't know if it happens in England, if anybody's got a Mini out there, but I always get people coming up to me saying, oh, my granddad used to have one of these, or my dad drove one of them. And everybody's got a memory of a Mini. Most of the time you have to say it's a Mr. Bean car because people know what they are. Saying a Mini, people think of the new Minis, not the original proper Minis. But yeah, I really enjoy that little car. I just don't get the time to deal with her like I was hoping to get. So, but there you go. Right, I can see that there are. I was only going to do an hour, and I'm already at 55 minutes. So I wasn't. I'm quite happy that went that quick. And I've just edited today a video that's coming out on Monday. The video on Monday, I was at a car show. It was a bit of a spontaneous car show. I got to find out about it on, I think it was Monday, the car show. I found out about it like Monday morning or Sunday evening, something like that. It was going to be a car show. So I went there. It's at the local drag racing track. They've had like a drag racing week. So they've been doing drag racing all week and car shows and stuff like that. And they had a car show there. So I went there, and one of the local guys was there with his 4,000 horsepower drag racing car that he put up on axle stands and started it when we were there. And that is amazing to listen to 4,000 horsepower going out those back wheels. That is amazing. I filmed it. I don't think the film does that justice. If you can ever go to a drag show, a drag racing car show, and listen to some drag racing cars, it is impressive. And that it's probably one of the smaller ones, but 4,000 horsepower is still a lot. But the noise is amazing. And just the smell of the methanol and things like that. It was brilliant. I really, really enjoyed that thing. I have filmed it. I've put it on the film. I'm not sure if YouTube or the sound of my cameras will do it any kind of justice, but it was fantastic. So I've filmed that, and that'll be out on Monday evening. That film will go out. But the film that I was talking about earlier with Alice getting her to the point where she is now, where she's actually running properly. I will say properly. Like I say, she's got a bit of a flat spot, but she is running properly. She does start first, flick of the key, bit of a hesitation while she's cold, but then she runs perfectly. That video is going live on Sunday. I try to put my videos out Sunday, quarter past 7 Swedish time, which is 6:15 English time. So I do try to put them out Sundays, basically so you guys can be at home and watch the YouTube videos in the comfort of your own home. So Sundays, keep your eye open for that one. But yeah, I've been driving up down the road in this Fiesta. Fantastic feeling. I'd love to know how people film their cars driving around, because I just get so much wind noise. I would love to be able to film the car, but all I could get was wind noise. But yeah, let me know how do you get that? How do you film that? Because mine just makes a right noise. But yeah, keep your eye out for that video. One on Sunday, one on Monday. I'm not sure whether this one will be number 100 or the Sunday film will be number 100, but this is 100 videos. And that's just amazing. For me, that is fantastic. And I just thought, how am I going to celebrate that? Well, I want to do a live. And I've never done it before, so it's gone a lot better than I expected, and I'm quite happy with it. 8 people at most have been watching that, which to me is fantastic. I thought I'd be sat here on my own for an hour, but I didn't. I've been quite enjoying it. Some comments have come in, and I'd love to see that. Even people sat in Luleå watching, which is fantastic. And Norway. Never thought of that. I thought I'd get a few people from England, but people in Luleå and Norway watching the video. That's brilliant. So a massive, massive thank you to everybody that subscribes to the channel. Anybody that watches the videos, massive, massive thank you. And keep watching the videos. I'm going to keep trying to get them out as often as possible. But I'm trying to keep myself to like one a week just so I can deal with, work and family and all that sort of stuff. But at least one a week is my plan. And like I say, England in a couple of weeks. So hopefully I'll be able to put a video out from Silverstone at the Ford show there. So that's going to be a really interesting show. And I'm really, really looking forward to coming over. So if anybody, like I said before, sees me at a car show, come over. I'll try and wear my Mike Mechanic t-shirts so that you can see me. But come over and say hello. I'd really love to see any of you. But I'm going to leave it at that. That's an hour. I didn't think I would make an hour. And that people have actually sat for a whole hour and listened to me talking is amazing. I'm really, really thankful for everybody. So I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to strip the back seats out of this and try and put them back together again. So I'll get the GoPro out and I'll film that, and hopefully we'll see that in the next video. So as I normally say, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you in the next video, which is Sunday. So thanks a lot, and bye-bye.